Johnny Talk Sports with the Week 6 NFL predictions. Last week I went 12-3, and that's the response that I guaranteed after a bad 5-10 week 4. So, you're only as good as your next week, so let's get into the Week 6 NFL predictions. As always, I begin with the Thursday Night Football game. This week, Thursday Night Football features the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. And what is there to talk about in this one? New England, Thursday night, home in Foxborough, home in Gillette Stadium. Patriots win convincingly. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These two teams play each other in Week 2. Tampa Bay pull off the upset on Thursday Night Football at Carolina. This one is in London, neutral field, so anything can happen in a neutral field game. However, despite both these teams having a little bit of confidence so far this season, I feel like Carolina has more confidence to them right now, especially ever since they turned the ball over to Kyle Allen at the quarterback position. So I'm going to take Carolina in this one. Next, we have the Seattle Seahawks and the Cleveland Browns. The Browns had an abysmal performance on Monday Night Football this week. A 31-3 defeat. Baker Mayfield completing 8 passes out of 22 for 100 passing yards, 2 interceptions, and 1 lost fumble, -2 fantasy points. So I scored more fantasy points than Baker Mayfield did this week. I'll put that on my resume. So the Seahawks, I think, are going to win this one huge because this is a strong opponent for the Browns, so I'm picking Seattle. Because Russell Wilson is having an MVP type season. So I'm going to take Seattle. Next, we have the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is one of the games this week that is a little bit hard to predict. I think Carolina, Tampa Bay, that goes either way. This one I feel like can go either way as well. I think this will be a shootout. Deshaun Watson does have confidence after last week's performance against the Falcons. But I think the Chiefs, I think they're going to bounce back after this weekend's Sunday Night Football loss against the Colts. I think they recover. I think Kansas City will win this one. Next, we have the Washington Redskins and Miami Dolphins. And I can't believe I have to pick this game. And I just flipped a coin on this one. And it landed on Redskins, so I'm going to pick the Redskins. Next, we have the Eagles and the Vikings. This one also go in either direction. Although I see this being as a meaningful game for the Vikings, that means Kirk Cousins won't show up to play. So I'm going to take Philadelphia. Next, we have the Saints and the Jaguars. Both the quarterbacks in this game, backup quarterbacks start the season, but now they have their teams heading in a positive direction. Gardner Minshew is becoming the meme of the month, while Teddy Bridgewater, he is back as a starting quarterback since suffering that ACL injury at a practice for the Vikings a few years ago. So both these teams are coming in hot, but I think Jacksonville at home. I think this becomes a low-scoring game. I think Jacksonville wins in the fourth quarter. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Ravens. This is one of the picks that is the easiest of the week. The Bengals have 0 wins this season, while the Ravens, they bounced back last week after losing to the Browns in Week 4. So I think the Ravens are going to make it 2 in a row. I'm going to take Baltimore. And next, we have what I think is going to be the game of the week. Maybe not for entertainment purposes, but as far as game of the week concerned, to see where this 49ers team is. The 49ers are the only other undefeated team in the National Football League at 4-0. But the 49ers, they haven't played as tough a schedule so far as a lot of other teams have. And this is going to be a huge indicator of where this 49ers team really is. Whether or not they are contenders or if they're pretenders. The way I see it, I think the 49ers, they are contenders. However, they have yet to play someone that is a contender themselves. And despite the Rams being on a 2-game losing streak, I think the Rams are going to get back to winning this week against the 49ers and give them their first loss of the season. Next, we have the Atlanta Falcons and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, a couple days ago, I did a rant about how it's time to give up on Atlanta sports and there's no hope for the Atlanta Falcons moving forward, because in the last 3 weeks, the Falcons have made Marcus Mariota, Jacoby Brissett, and Deshaun Watson look like elite quarterbacks. And Kyler Murray is probably going to look like an elite quarterback at this point as well. However, I think the Falcons, they end up winning this one. They magically find a way to win this game because the Falcons are better off tanking, but they're going to mess that up by winning like 2 more games this season that they really have no business winning, and this is going to be one of them. I think Atlanta wins this one. I'm going to say like something like 31-28, something like that. Next, we have the Tennessee Titans and the Denver Broncos. The Broncos picked up their first win of the season last week against the Chargers. However, don't let the 1-4 record don't let it distract you from how good this Broncos team really is. Even though they're 1-4, they should be at the bare minimum 3-2, because they've had the game won until the last drive, their opponent's last drive, where both times they have been called for a complete garbage roughing the passer call. It's happening against the Bears and the Jaguars. So the Broncos should be 3-2 right now. I don't care what anybody says. So this Broncos team isn't what their record shows. And I think Denver wins this week. Although, since this is a home game in Denver, I'm sure now that I'm saying this, the Titans are going to get bailed out by a garbage roughing the passer call with less than a minute left in the game, because it's happened in every single home game for the Broncos so far. So I'm going to take Denver anyway. But yeah, I'll refer back to this once the Titans win in dramatic fashion. Next, we have the Dallas Cowboys and New York Jets. Cowboys are on a 2-game losing streak right now. Consecutive losses against the Saints and the Packers, which aren't 2 bad losses necessarily. But the Cowboys, they kept grinding it out. They tried to come back against the Packers, but it was just too little too late. The defense, if they would have gotten a couple stops, maybe the outcome could have been a little bit different. But Sam Darnold returns this week after missing the last 3 to 4 weeks with mononucleosis. So he's back in the lineup, but I think the Cowboys win anyway. I think the Cowboys get back on a winning streak and beat the Jets convincingly this week. Sunday Night Football, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Chargers. And this matchup has really no hype to it anymore. At least not as much hype as it would have in preseason. And even on the Sunday Night Football game last year in Heinz Field, 3 consecutive offsides penalties on the Steelers on that game-winning field goal drive by the Chargers in last year's Sunday Night Football matchup. So Mason Rudolph is in the concussion protocol right now, and it looks like Samford quarterback Devlin Hodges is set to make his first NFL start. And what a way to make your first NFL start than in primetime against a team like the Los Angeles Chargers. Do I think this game is going to be close? Yeah, because even though logically you'd think the Chargers would run away with this game because Phillip Rivers is the quarterback and the Steelers are now down to their 3rd string quarterback this season. Maybe even their 3rd or 4th, whatever. It's going to be a low-scoring game. This is going to be like one of the worst games of the week. I would probably rather watch the Redskins and Dolphins both try to intentionally lose to try to maintain the front-runner position for the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But I'm going to pick the Chargers in a low-scoring game. I think this game will be a very defensive game, but it's not going to be because of good defense. It's going to be because of terrible offenses. I think the Chargers win this game by a ridiculously low score of 19-16. And finally, the Monday Night Football game, the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are coming off a big victory on the road last week against the Cowboys, and the Lions are coming off a bye week. So I think this is going to be the second or third best matchup of the week. I think this game is going to come down to the wire. Although Green Bay normally dominates on Monday Night Football, especially in Lambeau, I think this Lions team keeps it close. Despite me saying at the beginning of the season that the Packers defense is going to show improvement, they have shown improvement compared to years past. However, it's still a work in progress at this point. I think the Packers are going to show more improvement on defense. However, I think the Lions keep this close, and the Packers make a play late in the fourth quarter to ice the game. I'm taking Green Bay, but I'm taking Detroit to keep this close to a one-possession game. So those are my picks for Week 6. For those who keeping score at home, I've got the Patriots, Panthers, Seahawks, Chiefs, Redskins, Eagles, Jaguars, Ravens, Rams, Falcons, Broncos, Cowboys, Chargers, and Packers all winning this week. So only maybe 2 or 3 good matchups this week. I'd say the top 3 matchups this week are Detroit, Green Bay, Philadelphia, and Minnesota, and San Francisco and the Rams. So I think San Francisco and the LA Rams, I think that's going to be a good matchup, although the Rams could blow out the 49ers because this is the toughest opponent the Niners have played so far. But we're going to see how good this team really is, whether or not they're pretenders or contenders. Although I think it's going to be comedy to watch the Redskins and Dolphins both try to lose. Although I think the Redskins, they really want to prove something since they let go of Jay Gruden yesterday morning. And I'm saying yesterday just in case I don't upload this till tomorrow. I recorded this Tuesday evening. So ever since the Redskins have let go of Jay Gruden and they've promoted Bill Callahan as the interim coach, I think that the Redskins, they want to prove something. And there was talks about Haskins was drafted and Jay Gruden didn't like him. So this could be a battle for the first overall pick, but I wouldn't count on the Redskins even drafting quarterback Tua Tagovailoa in April. So I think the Redskins, they'll win this one, but it could easily end up in a tie. So that's all I've got this week. Enjoy Week 6 of the NFL season, and I will see you next time.